Nicole Maines, C.S. Pacat, Frank Barbere, Leah Williams, and a slew of artists dive into the grave effects of the Lazarus storms on the Superman family of characters and how the magic has changed them forever. Nicole Maines, C.S. Pacat, Frank Barbere, and Leah Williams lead the first tie-in to Lazarus Planet by detailing what the storms have done to many of the Superman family and Superman-related characters, acting as a continuation from the Alpha issue, filling in some gaps from that book, while also setting up some of the things we're going to see over in Adventures of Superman and Action Comics. Each writer gets ample time to explore exactly what the magical storm is doing to these heroes and how it's both evolving them power-wise and giving the Kryptonians new and interesting powers, as well as people like Mercy Graves really interesting new abilities, such as being a robot now who can transform her limbs into different weapons. Some of the stories, however, did feel lacking, almost like they were like the back half of an issue and were just dropped into this just to sort of explain how certain characters get to that point so we can pick up with them in Action Comics or Adventures of Superman. Case in point is the Superman story where he meets with this new character who we don't actually even know the name of until the last panel, which is really strange, being that Superman would ask him his name like straight away upon like finding the guy robbing a store. He'd ask who he is. Not only that, how the story is sequenced is just really strange, and Superman not even being fazed by the idea of becoming Superman Blue or gaining new electricity powers is really strange. He just doesn't seem to really care all that much, and it doesn't even reference the time that John had it happen briefly before in the final issue of Son of Kal-El, where he learnt that something else is within him, some sort of hidden power, and it doesn't dawn on him that maybe this is it. The Mercy Graves and Power Girl stories were definitely the highlight of the issue, exploring the effects of the storms really well and setting up really fun ideas for both characters, with Mercy becoming a one-woman army and Power Girl seemingly getting psychic abilities, which is quite fun, and going on a journey with this new character called Omen, which I'm very excited to see in Action Comics. Skylar Partridge, Scott Godlewski, Sam Basri, and Marguerite Sauvage provide artwork for the stories, and each look really fantastic, making great use of colors and interesting story sequencing, really getting to play around the magical aspect of this story and getting a bit trippy with the visuals, especially in the Power Girl story, which is a wonderfully detailed trip through Power Girl's psyche, which is just filled with all these bright colors and blues and reds and purples and greens. And I love how Marguerite does all these different versions of Kara in one sequence where they're sort of like tumbling over the top of each other. It just looks fantastic. Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton issue 1 explored the effects of the Lazarus storms on the Kryptonian and Superman related characters pretty well, although some of the stories felt like last minute inclusions and in turn felt rushed. I'm going to give this issue a 7 out of 10. Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton issue 1 finds Nia Null's phone call to Cat Grant interrupted by her getting a vision of events on Lazarus Island and the Helmet of Fate being involved, causing her to fall unconscious. At the Hall of Justice, Supergirl and Robin tend to the unconscious Batman. Kara tells Damian that no one can blame him for what happened since his grief was manipulated, and he's not the first person for that to happen to. Suddenly, Dreamer teleports into the medbay, warning Robin of the future and how it's gone dark. Dreamer introduces herself to Supergirl and how she can see the future. Nia doesn't understand why the future went dark, seeing everything reflected in the surface of a golden helmet, and when she tried to look beyond it for some context, she saw nothing but an infinite darkness. Robin knows that she is talking of the Helmet of Fate, filling Nia in on how the Devil Nezza used it to supercharge his own powers to enslave the world, but the magic inside of it exploded and empowered the Lazarus Pits instead, which in turn caused the massive storms ravaging the Earth right now. Supergirl knows that they have every disadvantage now thanks to Nezza learning from the past when they imprisoned him, but Dreamer thinks that with the helmet, they actually have an advantage, since if they can get the helm, they can restore the future. Batman wakes up, telling the heroes that Khalid Nassau is the current Dr. Fate and they need to find him, since he would have a method for tracking the helmet. Bruce knows, however, Khalid has not responded to Damian's beacon, so there's a chance he might be dead. Kara refuses to accept that, asking if Dreamer can enter Khalid's dreams and find him. Nia knows that she can, but it's not that simple, as dreamwalking isn't a straight shot and the rules are different, and sometimes there are no rules, but sometimes there are many. Batman wants her to at least try, so Dreamer enters the dreamscape, searching for Khalid's mind. She soon finds it and awakens in a hospital dressed as a doctor. A man barges past her as Nia stops him, wanting to know where Dr. Nassau is since she's doing her residency under him. The man, who is Khalid, doesn't know who Nia is, as Dreamer wonders if he falls asleep watching medical dramas, hence why his mind is filled as a hospital. Nia reveals that Khalid is dreaming and he's not really a doctor, he's a superhero. Khalid leaves, not having any time for this, but Nia catches up to him, telling him that he's Dr. Fate and he needs to show them where the helmet of fate is, and he needs to wake up and remember who he really is. A disembodied voice tells Nia to let Khalid go, as Khalid Nassau is buried deep within his own subconscious by the devil Nezza. The voice tells her that the connection to the helmet is buried even deeper in the man's mind, and it's sleeping until it's found. Nia knows that if it's sleeping, she can work with that, asking who the voice is, but the being will only say that Khalid cannot guide her to the helm, but it can. Nia is led into a giant exit door, telling the voice that she won't let the future vanish because Khalid is trapped as a doctor. She enters the creepy doorway, walking through a dimension of many staircases as the voice asks her how she can walk through dreams. Dreamer tells the voice that she is a Naltorian, but the voice senses there is something more than just that, as fate itself runs right through her. Quite literally, as Nia finds herself within the helmet of fate. The voice thanks her as she reaches out to the golden light, but the voice suddenly tries to stop her as Nia returns to the real world, erupting from a Lazarus Pit with the helmet of fate, but has become infected by the resin. In Metropolis, a man smashes his way into a clothing store, taking a leather jacket. Superman confronts him outside, demanding he put it back, but the man knows it looks so good on him. Suddenly, the Lazarus megastorm erupts above Metropolis as the man wonders if shoplifting is beneath Superman's pay grade. Superman is well aware that the man has committed 9 break-ins that morning when the storms begin to affect him, causing him to fall to the ground. The man tries to help the hero when an electric power explodes from John, infecting the man and unleashing lava powers from his hands. Later on, John awakens on the man's couch in his apartment, learning the volcano and rain is giving people powers. John doesn't really like volcanoes, as the man reveals that he has volcano-based powers, which he got thanks to a combination of the rain and the electricity Superman discharged, and thanks to the powers and not knowing how to use them, he accidentally blew a hole in his apartment. John thinks that they are both evolving somehow, as the man asks him to remove his cape, since it's still infected with the electricity. Superman tells him that if whatever altered his powers is still live, it's dangerous, but he still needs to get out there and help the city. The man thinks that he looks like he's about to fall over, but John leaves to help, with the man following behind him, telling the hero that he can arrest him later. Thanks to not knowing how to really use his flying powers, the man careens into a water tower, causing Superman to give him some pointers on the superhero life, stopping the man from chatting with the criminals he's apprehending, taking a woman's diamond bracelet, and taking looters' loot for himself. The man thinks that Superman is no fun as they respond to the broken Golden Gate Bridge, preventing a bus from falling off the ledge. The man asks what his superhero name should be, but John reminds him a key part to being a hero is to not constantly steal things. He asks how John chose his name, but Superman knows he inherited it, which the man thinks fits his whole Boy Scout, goody two-shoes team captain thing. The man thinks that Superman should let loose sometimes, but John makes it clear that he's not breaking the law. The man tries to pick his own name, thinking something volcano theme is needed as he notices Superman is beginning to look a little blue again. John falls from the sky, but the man catches him, knowing John let him tag along because he didn't want a superpowered thief on the loose, but he does hope that he made himself useful somewhat. John asks when he first experienced his electric discharge, why didn't the man escape with his powers? But the man didn't want to miss anything good, hoping that he wouldn't be turned in by the hero if he helped. John asks if he's going to give the clothes he stole back, but the man says he won't, so John has no choice but to arrest him. Suddenly, the man's powers disappear, meaning his joyride is over. The man thinks that Superman got lucky here, since if he had his powers still, he would go back to his apartment and steal the electrified cape Superman left there and sell it to the highest bidder, but he now knows that taking responsibility is part of being a hero. John agrees to put a good word in for him, seeing as he helped save some people, and the man hopes that John will take him flying when he gets out of prison. Later on, John returns to the man's apartment for his cape, seeing on the news that a volcano-powered being escaped Metropolis police station. He finds his cape is missing, however, with a note left by the man named Ash, asking if Superman has ever had a really bad day. At LexCorp Tower, Mercy Graves tells Lex the storms are getting worse and her team are tracking the Lazarus energy that's manifesting the megastorms. They have no way of knowing what the Lazarus discharge will do to them, but they remain ready for the worst. Lex isn't too concerned with some mere bad weather, assuring Mercy that they are in the state-of-the-art armory and if anything alarming was happening, they would have lost power. As if on cue, the tower loses power and the backup generators kick in, but the storm begins swirling around the tower. On the 18th floor, LexCorp security check through something happening in data operations. The storm picks up and lightning shoots through the building as Mercy demands Lex get away from the window. Again, Lex doesn't think that a little thunder is going to hurt him, but suddenly a lightning bolt hits Mercy, slamming her into one of the LexCorp war suits. Lex seals the room, asking if his assistant is hurt, but the woman doesn't want him touching her since she is covered in the Lazarus residue. Power explodes from Mercy, who says that she feels better now, but whatever hit her has done something to her. Security meanwhile alerts all other security in the building of a giant pack of wolves with knives for tails. Mercy arms herself to help the men, but Lex doesn't want her to bother, not thinking that she was a compassionate type. Mercy says that the data ops center is an invaluable addition to the company, and while Lex is the brain, the data ops center is the heart, and the one thing that gets under Lex's skin the most is losing money. She races off to help her men, who meanwhile fight off the giant wolves. Mercy kills one of the wolves, recognizing them from the research labs, and the Lazarus discharge has transformed them. Suddenly, Mercy is stabbed in the chest by one of the wolf's tails, but instead of killing her, it unleashes her Lazarus powers, which transforms her arm into a sword, allowing her to cut the wolf's tail off and free herself. The wolf attacks, but Mercy creates a shield with one of her arms, blocking the creature's assault before unleashing her spiked fingers, killing the monster instantly. Mercy realizes that something from the war suit she was knocked into has been channeled into her by the Lazarus resin. She stops thinking of her powers as a woman calls for the help of Superman or Batman as a wolf bears down on her. Mercy's arm transforms into an energy cannon, blowing the wolf's head off. Mercy knows that thanks to the Lazarus resin, she has evolved as Lex asks her to report in. Mercy tells him of the situation and how it's under control, and she is dealing with the escaped lab animals, not requiring any more weaponry since she has everything she needs. Power Girl meanwhile finds herself falling through the sky, thinking about how there are very few important things about her, like how she comes from a far, far away place that no longer exists. She's very good with technology, she's very strong, and is the sole survivor of 2 distinct mass extinction events. She knows right now though she is dying as she remembers helping Zatanna and Shazam at the Tower of Fate, battling the Silverhorn King. She remembers grabbing the villain and heading into the sky when she died, or at least that's what she thinks is happening thanks to her life flashing before her eyes. Kara had hoped that in life she had learned to connect to other people and that she mattered, as suddenly she slams into the ground. Power Girl finds herself in a strange purple and blue landscape, and upon trying to fly, she is swept off her feet by a purple fire. Kara knows that she wasn't the most virtuous of beings, but this hellscape is a bit too much as she spots a being in the fire, feeling their pain as she screams. She rushes to help the woman, but she burns to ash before she can reach a green-hued area ahead of her. Kara decides to head to the green area to see what the woman was heading towards, finding it to be a cemetery filled with the graves of the Titans. She sees a spectral woman being pulled down by zombies as the Titans appear. Power Girl knows that this can't be real, hitting the zombified Titans, but they disappear in a flash of green smoke. Her environment begins to change again, this time filling the space with words on which Kara knows well, as they are how she sees herself and how she hurts herself. Kara demands they stop, but gets tired of being sorry for herself, using her heat vision to burn through the words and smash through into a different colored dimension, as the words tell her that she'll always be alone. Kara already knows she will be as she escapes the dimension, finding a red-haired woman who says that she just had the strangest dream about Power Girl. Kara knows that she did as well, and the woman already knows that thanks to her telepathy, apologizing since she can't help but overhear Kara's thoughts. The woman reveals her name is Omen, as Kara tells her that they need to find some heroes with psychic powers who can help them deal with this and what they went through, and besides, she needs to go and save the world. Omen knows that Kara has psychic aptitude already, something Kara didn't know, as Omen telepathically projects her thoughts into Kara's head, but then it suddenly changes when Power Girl begins to telepathically read Omen's mind. Kara asks Omen what this means and how it happened, and what happened in the nightmare they both just shared, but Omen isn't so sure, but she is looking forward to the both of them finding out.